All right, welcome back to the Pennsylvania and Berwind, and we are here with Isla, who's gradually inching through the Allegheny yard and on the way to Highland. Is that right? Well, anyway, Universal Sugar. That's right. I'm sorry. So we are on the way to Universal Sugar, which I believe is on the Old Town branch. But before we can get there, we have to sort of navigate through this Highland yard, Allegheny yard. And autopilot was not willing to do that initially, so we're going to do it this way. And I think the reason is that autopilot was a little bit blocked by another train. The autopilot usually wants to take the shortest path, and if the shortest path is blocked, as it was in this case, then it clearly is not going to be able to go forward. So that's fine. And I think actually at this point it probably Isla will be able to do that autopilot move, because now that we're over here, it's going to be fine. So let's just do that. Let's see if we can continue schedule. And yes, indeed. Now, if you remember, also in Allegheny Yard last time, we had these two RS2s. And we are just trying to order autopilot to couple them to this train and handle some shunting. Basically, to shunt out these tank cars. So I think it should be more than possible to do that. And who do we actually have here? I don't recall who's in charge of this train. Oh, it's Tram, of course. Tram just came back from the refinery, or just came back from the DBEV at any rate. I do have some interesting issues with the traffic on this route. People are basically treating that road as a two-lane road and also as a road that you can drive down the center. And I'm pretty sure that I replaced that whole spline with a no-traffic spline and put down the, this truck is driving in the correct lane. And that, I believe, is following the path that I laid down. Whereas this one is driving down the center. Perfect. All right, let's have you. Oh, it's going to navigate all the way over to the refinery, but that wouldn't make sense, I don't think. Who am I actually controlling? Interesting little vehicle here. Probably used for towing, but also can drive on, doesn't have to be on the rails, I am assuming. And while you're working on that, we can, of course, continue with Jessica. Jessica, I believe, needs only 2 more cars. Yeah, we had plenty of space. We just need 1 more car after this. Okay, pop back to Jessica. I'm assuming all these are loaded. They are indeed. It's going to be a heavy train. How far does this track extend? It only extends to the end of this little pavement. It's sort of odd. So I think we have to make another movement anyway, so let's just stop there. And we'll stop tram here. It's not coupled for some reason. It's just extremely slow. So the potash needs to go to the Shawnee team track. So we don't have far to go with this train. It is far enough that we cannot go without a caboose, though. Caboose is required for intercity travel. Now, ideally, if we're going over the bridge and into Allegheny, we might also want to have a caboose, but for just 4 cars, I think we can call that as a switching task, shunting task. Okay, as usual. A little bit too fast on that one. All right, now Tram, you can go couple to these 4 tank cars and fill them up at the refinery. Okay, just a little bit of a modification on the engine spec there. I think it's necessary. I mentioned this on the last couple of episodes that something going on with the engine specs, and I thought that I had replaced them, and then it seems like I have not replaced them, so feeling like I needed to do a little bit of emergency repair there. And unfortunately, doing it on the fly means I can't really look into it. But, yeah. So we're just going to pick up these 4 cars, and we're going to take them to the refinery. Should not be too difficult. Shouldn't be too difficult in theory, although I believe it is difficult to get the autopilot to run over that bridge. So we'll see. First thing we're going to do is we're going to drive via Allegheny East Yard Track 11. And then we're going to navigate to Refinery Diesel. Now this train is a dare, and is it a dare? No, it's Amy. Amy needs to go to Highland. And I think that the tank cars are in a position where, unfortunately, we cannot just drive there, navigate there. So instead, we're going to have to go to track 2 East. Okay, so Jessica is ready to go. All we need to do is assemble the train. Finally. And as I mentioned, some of these switches do have some very long clears. And we're going to do the right thing, and we're going to first switch out those cars that are blocking the road. Oh yes, very long clear switch. It's going to be a long train. See how many tons we have here. We have 1,100 here. We've got 1,200 here. And we've got 1,600 here. So, yeah, it's pushing 4,000 tons. Not too shabby. And it won't be surprising if it's going to be difficult to push this up the hill now. Here's where we have to wonder if we're going to actually make it, because SD 40-2s, that's a fair amount of power, but 2% grade here. Yeah, I could say that that is rough handling. I admit it. 2,700 tons. Let's see if our traffic will wait for us. And the fact that we're moving should clue them in that they're not going to have to wait forever. Now, on the other hand, if you're a driver and you knew that you could just phase through the train after a certain point, you're certainly going to look at that as maybe a better option. It might be good if traffic could kind of wait, instead of waiting a certain amount of time before phasing through, maybe traffic could wait until traffic has piled up to a certain number of vehicles. Surprised they didn't go. Never mind. All right, once again, we're on that steep grade. It's not a long grade. It's a steep one, and it's got a curve. It's got a rather tight curve, actually. If we can't make it, I'm going to call that realistic. And don't forget, we don't have to just make this. We have to actually make that other, we have to make the caboose pickup as well. So... Four miles an hour. 5 miles an hour. There's no two ways about it. If we cannot back up this hill to pick up that caboose, we're going to have to send some other power over here to help out. I'm going to try not to get too much speed, because slowing down is probably going to be an issue. As I was saying. Come on, you can do it. You can do this. You can slow down. That's what I'm confident of. Going back, that not so clear. Of course, now the locomotive is actually maybe almost to the flat. This train is actually as long as this branch line. Let's see, do we have backward motion here? We do indeed. We're making it. Got 1 mile an hour. I mean, this is actually much better than I thought. I thought we might be sitting on it for a while. I don't know if sand helps in easy mode. Yeah, it turned out to be no problem. Those SD40s handled it with aplomb. Oops. I didn't realize S turned off the throttle. I thought S was probably the toggle for sanding. So Adair is going to be dropping off these two. And yes, there is a method to my madness why I'm turning to Adair next, because he's blocking the track that we need to go. Not in control of Adair. Adair is blocking the track that we need to go on. Actually, I believe that Adair could pick up some of these other cars while we're at it. There's no reason why. There's no reason why these center beam cars are here. Are those Toomey assets? I think those are. Legacy Toomey assets. So yes, let's just drop these, and then we will quickly move off. Because we have that, we have this little guy. He can actually handle the switching out of the team track, I think. That would make sense. So there's no reason to tie up the main line. That's the whole point of having him. I think that's Dave. Track runner. Is this where we drop off the potash? Or is it on this... seems like I cannot unload. I cannot decouple. That's the setting for this particular one is like that. Okay. Now, I believe Tyler has no choice. He's going to have to back out of this track. There is no runaround and no why. And wow, the edge of the route is also right here, which I'm totally fine with. I kind of forgot about it. Try to keep the camera off that little area. Could we get another one here now that we have a short 40-foot? We shall see. I'd say we should be able to. Doesn't matter though, because we have to do another movement anyway. All right, let's just pull forward a little bit. And now that we know that we're going to lose control of the train, we might as well just pop these two covered hoppers back in the main train and take off. It's not that much extra time. Is it Thomas in the Erie Lackawanna? We need to continue working on this. Steel mill track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we still need to do. And I think the solution here is just to pop them over here on the next track. We don't even need to pop all of them. We just do the ones that absolutely have to be done. In fact, we can just do 5. Alrighty, just clear this switch, and then we will be ready to reverse. The parking lot is a little bit sparse, and the people who work here do have a very limited choice of vehicles. I'm fine with that, of course. These are some of the built-in cars. Perhaps the area could use a small amount of street lighting. Would that be crazy? All right, I think that should be 5. More than 5. Yeah, more than 5. That's good. As long as we've got more than 5, we have a cushion. Thomas passed the signal of danger. I can't imagine. Well, perhaps that switch far ahead of him being turned against him would matter. Thomas is struggling a little bit with this train. I didn't think that would be the case. The whole train will, I believe, be rather heavy. Let's see how much these weigh. Oh, only 400 tons. Okay. Never mind. I mean, these steel rod loads, they are pretty small number of steel rods. I could probably count them, but I'm not going to. So let's see if we can get those 3 to be sticking out over the edge of the gantry so that everything is going to be easily loaded now. All right, Adair. Adair is ready to go to Juniata. And yes, this is quite a long string of boxcars. It's going to have to be unloaded in Juniata. And that is a today task, white paper. But potash, that was one of the today tasks as well. So getting that done helps. Getting the Allegheny gondolas loaded up helps, obviously. And we're going to have to get those off the map. When we load a today task, it has to be off the map by the end of the day. So that's one of the reasons why it's very good to load that up now, load it up quickly. Ship it on the Frisco. Southeast, southwest. Frisco, I believe, was absorbed by the Burlington Northern. And I believe that was not long before BNSF was created, a few years before. Perhaps in the 1980s? Okay. Time for this train to head on to Juniata. Okay, so Glosser Brothers needs 10 general goods, so we only need to drop off one more boxcar here. And this is another task we can definitely mark as having been completed. It's not a daily task. It is one of our tasks that we started with. Yeah, lots of flange action as we go around these corners. Okay, there we are. Glosser's Brothers has indeed been serviced. Okay, for our very last task, we are going to deal with Amy. And it is somewhat unfortunate that there is not another locomotive in this area, because there's so much stuff to do here. We were just handling the Highland Brewery, of course, earlier in the episode, in the last episode, I mean. And now we have to drop off these sugar cars at Avery Sweets. And also behind us, in the very, very far background, that is where we have the Texaco, I believe, the Texaco facility. And that is where we are still in need of filling up some, emptying up some cars there at that distribution center. So Avery Sweets right behind us here. Beautiful facility. One of my favorite episodes, by the way. I believe they can unload 2 at a time. And this track is not long enough, but we have the saving grace of the other track there that we can use for this switching task. All right, sorry for whipping it around a little bit too much there. But candy needs to be made. Oh, we're not actually going to block the traffic right now, at least. Let's get these perfectly lined up. All right, here we are with tram. And it appears that finally, after a number of episodes where I was seemingly unable to get any trains to cross this bridge under autopilot control, seems like the answer was pretty simple and should be pretty obvious to an old trains aficionado. Basically, there was a stray junction lever in the middle of the bridge, which I had somehow not noticed before, despite doing this on camera a couple of times. Now we seem to be able to handle this bridge no problem. We'll see if that's also true going in the other direction, but just the fact that this train is moving is a major sign of success. Of course, we'll be taking this train in the other direction, so we'll have a test soon enough. Here we are at the Allegheny refinery again. It's the relatively new addition, forming the seam between the DBEV and the PNB. And although I had intended to come back and add a few more details, I'm pretty satisfied with the way it looks. All right, let's stop a little bit early here. Hopefully early enough so that we only fill up 2 tank cars with diesel. And I trust that all of these loading cranes do serve, and then if we don't pull the other 2 up, then they won't get loaded here, is what I'm assuming. Try to be a little time efficient this way. Okay. Okay, here we are with Tyler. And of course, Tyler is done at the Glosser Brothers. And I mentioned earlier that perhaps I had made a mistake, that I had taken too many general goods to Glosser Brothers, and maybe I made a mistake and maybe I didn't, but I had, of course, slipped my mind exactly where the other 4 boxcars were supposed to be going, which is they were never supposed to go to Glosser Brothers, they were simply going off map. So yes, maybe we shouldn't have taken them here, but it wasn't a mistake per se. They were just never going here. And once we're out of the way here, we can just go up this little Y track and turn around, which is darn convenient. Yes, I think it's fair to say that I'm just not very familiar with Shawnee and this whole area. Wow, there are a lot of passengers out here. Gosh. I don't know. I've said this before, but it's occurred to me to sort of edit some of these passenger stations to remove the passengers. I don't know if that's a 5-second thing. I don't know if it's worth doing. I'm sure it's only noticeable to me at the end of the day, probably. This little Y is a little bit of disused track, and yeah, you could imagine that there was a logging camp here, maybe something military. I don't know. The whole area is just fantastic. And one of these areas, I think, is Agway, where we're going to be coming with another train in the not too distant future. We don't have a lot of space, so I'm taking it nice and easy. Come on. Okay, back with Amy, and I'm going to guess that Amy is indeed ready to back up a little bit. Looks like the old problem of the MI2 not being exactly aligned with where the arrows are. That has happened again. But I suppose what that means is if I line up this car with that second stand, yeah, something to address a little bit later. I presume that 2 more cars will unload now, even though that's not the way it should be. All right, next we're going to have a look at Isla. Isla has made it to Universal Sugar. And Isla, unfortunately, at Universal Sugar will be blocking the Vonnie branch, blocking Old Town and Vonnie. So I need to get her into the right track. Now, I mentioned that I don't think I really made a mistake or didn't substantively make any mistake for Tyler with Glosser Brothers, but it does seem that I had things the wrong way around. I've never visited Universal Sugar before, so in my spreadsheet, I had accounted for Universal Sugar as receiving spent grains. But actually, it is producing spent grains. So we're going to be taking all the spent grains off the map, I think. Well, maybe not all, but a few other cars that have to go on to other places. But most of these are going to end up having to go off the map. So fortunately, because we arrived with a train that's half full of spent grains and half with empty covered hoppers, we can still collect some of the spent grains in this train. But first we need to get rid of this one empty car before we back fully into that track. Yeah, and this is definitely going to be a relatively inconvenient industry to service. Definitely an inconvenient industry to pick up 13 car loads of spent grain at. But for right now, I think I'll be satisfied with just backing these cars in. Definitely going to be a bit of a chore to collect them. And I would note, it is not a today task. It is not an urgent matter that needs to be dealt with. So we can take our time. Not only can we take our time, but we can occupy the main line once Tyler is out of Shawnee. Lots of little sound effects. I like them. Should be good enough. So I guess we can probably pick up about 3 cars there is what that's telling us. And it looks like we're not going to be able to get past this way. Well, not until we fill up a few cars anyway. And now that we know that this is working again, we can just drive to Allegheny refinery and pick up our fuel oil. Right? Good. And lastly, we can jump back to lastly we can jump back to Amy here, and we can unload that one remaining car at the end before we have to make another movement to stash some of these cars in this abandoned track over here. Okay, that should be good. Get it perfect. And we're not even blocking the road. So that's all for this episode of the Pennsylvania Berwind. I hope that you've enjoyed yourself as much as I have. I feel like we got a lot done. Of course, there's always more to do, at least in the way I play this game. So I hope you'll be back for more in the next time we are back on the Pennsylvania Berwind. Until then, see you next time.